But first, our top story this hour. President Donald Trump has issued a series of executive actions this week. On Friday, he signed his 15th executive order that temporarily bans refugees from certain Muslim-majority countries. The executive order puts a 4-month hold on all refugees settling in the U.S. It halts for 90 days the entry of visitors from countries of concern, such as Iraq and Syria. It also blocks all Syrian refugees indefinitely.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. We're very keen to accept this back. Thank you. President, I've been listening to the President.
Mr. Trump said the idea is to limit the rise of so-called Islamic extremism. But the order has outraged groups ranging from humanitarian organizations to Democratic members of Congress. Minority Leader Senator Chuck Schumer tweeted last night, "There are tears running down the cheeks of the Statue of Liberty tonight." For more on this, we're joined by David Miliband. He is the president and CEO of the International Rescue Committee, an organization devoted to helping refugees around the world. And he is, of course, the former Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs for the United Kingdom. His op-ed piece criticizing President Trump's executive order appears in this morning's New York Times. David, good morning.
Good morning, Alex.
So the president has painted a rather menacing picture of refugees overseas. Your organization knows and works with these folks. Who are they?
Well, half of the refugees who are arriving in the United States are under the age of 14. So a lot of them are kids. Many of them are coming from war-torn areas. We work in Syria, in Somalia, in Afghanistan, where many people are local and are supporting American troops and have been and have a right to come to the U.S. We work abroad with those people, but we also work in 29 U.S. cities where the U.S. honors its historic commitment to be a haven for people fleeing persecution. Often that's war, but it might also be political persecution. People come from Iran or Russia or China, and they come here for political reasons, or Cuba is a very good example, and we've resettled ourselves about 60,000 Cubans over the last 50 years. So refugees are people who are fleeing persecution. They're not seeking an economic better life, they're seeking to save their own lives.
David, you write in your op-ed piece that there's a myth that there's no proper security screening for refugees. What do refugees coming into the United States now have to go through?
That's a great point. The only good thing about this controversy is I can explain the actual truth of the situation. It takes up to 36 months for a refugee to get through the vetting process. The average is around 18 months. They have to prove to 12 to 15 different government agencies, including the CIA, that they are who they say they are, that they are going to be safe, and that they're going to be productive residents and then citizens in this country. It's a tough process, including biometric testing, and the onus is on the refugee to prove who they are. It's tougher to get to the US as a refugee than any other route, be it a visa for a student or a tourist or anything else.
That is critical information. One of the provisions in this executive order gives preference to religious minorities. Do we not accept a fairly equal share of Muslims and Christians, for example? And what does a religious test actually mean?
Well, that's a great point. About 45% are Christians, 45% are Muslims on the latest figures. So it's more or less 1-to-1. The grounds for being a refugee are persecution. That could be religious persecution, but it could be political persecution. And many people will be thinking, well, if I'm being persecuted for political reasons, if I'm a dissident, as I said, in Cuba or Russia, why should I get less preferential treatment than if I'm a religious minority? Actually, most of the Iranians that we resettle in this country, I met one yesterday in Silver Spring, Maryland. He was a Christian from Iran. The majority of Iranians we resettle here are Christians, yeah.
So, David, we're cutting from 110,000 down to 50,000, the number of refugees will be coming in. What's going to happen to those 60,000
Well,
people?
your 60,000 people are in limbo now. Some of them are literally waiting to get on planes. They've been through the vetting process, and they're waiting to be told which part of the US are you going to be left in. And one of the saddest things about this situation is obviously the immediate situation of those people who are stuck in refugee camps or in terrible urban conditions around the world. But there's also a bigger point here. America has historically been a leader of the humanitarian system, both in terms of its welcome of refugees and sometimes in terms of its overseas aid. Now that's lower than some European countries. And I think there's another important point. The propaganda gift of this is to people who would do damage to the United States. There's nothing that ISIS want more than to be able to say to Muslims around the world, look, we're the people who'll protect you. America will never give you haven. And that, in the long term, is one of the most dangerous things.
It is a shocking message to send around the world. David Miliband. Great
Thank
to
you
see
very much. Thank you.
Thank you, David.